The doctors around him suggested different stuff, but he thought he was smarter than them. And so he consulted like a local veterinarian. And the guy was like, take iodine drops.
He OD'd on iodine?
Yeah.
Classic mistake. Welcome back to Stuff That We Like / Enjoy, at least at this point in time. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Christina.
We're the Castanetas, and today we're doing another Villains of History.
Another dictator.
That's
yes.
right.
All right, babe. Do you want to start us off with a little story about this horrible person?
Yes, ma'am.
Not couching how I feel at all. He might be the worst so far.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. It's 1930 in a small village in Ukraine. Your family has farmed this land for 3 generations. One morning, men arrive with trucks and paperwork and start loading up your grain stores, your livestock, your tools. They tell you that you've been classified as a gulag, an enemy of the people, and your land now belongs to the collective. Your neighbors watch from doorways. One of them, you figure, is probably the one who reported you. Your oldest son is taken a few weeks later and you don't know why.
Wow.
You don't know who to ask or whether asking would make things worse. You have no way to appeal, no one to call, no system that exists to hear you, and by winter, you're boiling grass to feed your younger children. Half the village is in the same position. The grain you grew is gone, loaded onto trains headed somewhere else while you starve. Somewhere in Moscow, in an office you'll never see, a man signed the orders that made all this happen. You don't know his name, you just know that whatever he decided rippled all the way down to your kitchen table, and there was nothing you could do about it.
Wow.
His name was Joseph Stalin. And today on Villains of History, we're talking about how he got there.
Wow.
Okay.
Bad man.
Bad boy. Bad man pajama.
I honestly, this is the most intriguing dictator or bad person we've covered so far on this show. Just because, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more information about him. Probably because this was just, 7,500 years ago kind of a thing. Whereas other people were way back when. But anyways, I feel like we could do like a 4-part series on him. So this will just be the highlights. But thank you for that introduction.
Absolutely.
And hopping into his childhood, always an interest of mine to find out how these people became who they were.
Right on.
All right, so Joseph Stalin was born in 1878 in Gori, Georgia, which was then part of the Russian Empire. It's a country that touches Russia, if you're not familiar with it. The town of Gori was a rough kind of peasant town known for its street gang culture and local bandits. His mother, KK, was a devout Orthodox woman who worked as a washerwoman and seamstress. Stalin was the only of her 4 children to survive infancy, so his 3 siblings before him all died, I think, before they turned 1. So he was very important to her, and she wanted him to become a priest because she was very involved with the local church. His father, on the other hand, his name was Besso. He was a cobbler and a violent alcoholic.
Wow.
He beat both his wife and the young Stalin regularly. Some historians believe this abuse was severe enough to cause lasting psychological and mental damage and may have led to Stalin associating power with cruelty, that you're powerful by being cruel. And his father eventually abandoned the family and drank himself to death.
Jeez, oh man.
Along with the lifestyle, having a horrible father hardships, he also had a lot of physical hardships as a child. At the age of 7, he contracted smallpox, which left his face pockmarked for life. He had horrible, horrible scarring all over his face. And he was famously very self-conscious about this. Later on, when he was a dictator, he would have photos retouched so there weren't any scars showing. Which is very interesting. If you look up photos of him, he looks pretty normal, but his face was in real life covered in scars.
Wow.
He also had a webbed left foot where 2 of his toes fused together, which caused him to walk a bit unusually. And then at the age of 11, he was hit by a horse-drawn carriage, which permanently injured his left arm, and it kind of stopped growing at that point. So his left arm was always much shorter than his right arm, had limited mobility, was kind of shriveled, and this disqualified him from serving in military service in World War II. But in his professional portraits or pictures later on in life, he would have the arm retouched or redrawn to make look normal. So as the result of all this, he had a scarred face from the carriage incident. His arm stopped growing, and it left him with a noticeable limp for the rest of his life, along with the webbed foot.
Along with the webbed foot is just insult to injury.
I know. He was what we would maybe consider today to be maybe on the spectrum. As a child, like when he was happy, he stated as jumping around on one foot while snapping his fingers and yelling aloud. So he just was very odd. He was constantly pulling pranks, like setting off fireworks in class or tying a frying pan to a cat's tail. And in addition to this, he was very short. Most records have him down as being between 5'1" and 5'4".
That's so brutal.
Everybody was a bit shorter back then, but not that short.
Yeah.
So this led to him being quite aggressive and scrappy and fearless, despite being smaller than most kids, kind of make up for it. And he fought constantly and was a part of the local gang culture. Later on in life, so he was a very self-conscious person, as we've seen smallpox, scarring his left arm. As he got older, he would wear specifically made kind of platform boots so that he would appear several inches shorter, and artists were encouraged to depict, he had to make him appear taller.
Okay.
And artists, he would encourage them to depict him as a more physically imposing, a little bit taller, a little bit larger. He was interestingly very skilled at everything that he did. So he was reportedly obsessed with being the best at everything. He was really skilled in sports. He was a great student. He wrote poetry. He was in the local choir. He was a great painter. He was in school plays. He read tons of books. And if he didn't come in first or get the best grade, he would like pout and be like standoffish and kind of figure out how to be better in the future. After his father kind of abandoned the family, Stalin and his mom moved in with the head priest of the local church and his family. And Father Christopher was the man's name. He helped raise Stalin and got him a scholarship to the Gory Church School. It was a very expensive private school that trained young men in religion. And after graduating from that at 16, he got a scholarship to the Tiflis Theological Seminary. And he went there at age 16 to train to become an Orthodox priest. But while he was there, people think this kind of maybe shifted a bit of who he was. The seminary was notably very authoritarian and oppressive. The monks would monitor the students' rooms, they would confiscate books, and they kind of had a surveillance culture set up where the students were encouraged to tell on each other and get rewards for telling on each other, and the others would get punished.
Wow.
So he said later on, Stalin, that the seminary's kind of spy and snitch system taught him how to run a covert network later on in his life. He was really into reading banned books like Victor Hugo, Darwin, Marx, and he would smuggle them into the school and had a secret reading circle. He grew his hair out in rebellion, was just very, not a great, going to be a priest. He was repeatedly caught and punished, but he would keep doing it anyways, and they would put him in solitary confinement as punishment. And at age 20, he was finally kicked out of the school. He left the school with great disdain for Christianity and God and declared himself to be an atheist.
My gosh.
On to you.
Wow. That was a bummer of a childhood.
Yeah.
He did really well for himself, it seems, though.
Well, he had so much potential despite his physical limitations and the abuse he went through. Like, he was really great at everything he did.
Even athletics.
Yeah.
Which for somebody who's 4 foot or 5'1",
yeah,
it's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so a little bit about his rise to power. So just for context, we're going to talk about Vladimir Lenin real quick.
Okay.
Because it's important to the story.
It's great.
So Lenin was the leader of the Bolshevik Party and the architect of the Russian Revolution. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks overthrew the provisional government that had replaced the Tsar earlier that year and seized control of Russia. It was a Marxist revolution. The idea was to dismantle the class system, to take power away from the wealthy and hand it to the workers and the state. So Lenin ran the Soviet government from 1917 until his death in 1924. So he was the reason there was a Soviet Union at all at the time.
Crazy.
So when Stalin left the seminary around 1899 and threw himself into underground socialist politics, which is right where he headed.
Socialism.
Yeah. He joined the Bolsheviks around 1903 and made himself useful to Lenin as an organizer.
Okay.
So not a theorist or a speaker, but someone willing to do the work nobody wanted their name on, including, this is cool, bank robberies.
Okay.
So the party called these expropriations.
Okay.
So that's in quotes, expropriation. So they would use these bank robberies to fund their operations. So between 1902 and 1917, he was arrested and exiled to Serbia at least 6 times.
Oh my gosh.
For these crimes. He escaped almost every time and was super good at surviving. And naturally, a lot of people underestimated his ability. So
probably because he's small, he's had these physical handicaps.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so he escaped like 6 different times.
Crazy. I also read that he had like a very quiet, raspy speaking voice and a very heavy accent. So he wasn't like Hitler or other like great speakers. So that makes sense that he kind of just was the organizer.
Totally. Huh. So when the revolution happened in 1917, he returned from exile, took over the Bolshevik newspaper, Pravda. I don't know what Pravda means, and positioned himself close to Lenin. He wasn't the face of the revolution, like you said. Lenin was the face of the revolution, but he was inside the tent, and that mattered way more than anybody realized at the time. So in 1922, Stalin was appointed General Secretary of the Communist Party.
Wow.
Everybody thought this was a boring administrative job. But Stalin understood it was the most powerful position in the party because it controlled who got hired, who got promoted, and who owed their career to whom. While everyone else argued about ideology, he was quietly building a machine made out of loyalty and obligation to himself.
Wow.
So Lenin noticed this too late. And by 1922, he was bedridden from a series of strokes. And from his sickbed, this is crazy, he dictated what historians call his testament, which was a letter warning the party that Stalin had accumulated too much power, excuse me, and lacked the temperament to use it wisely.
What?
He added a postscript recommending Stalin be removed as general secretary entirely. Isn't that insane?
That's
From
crazy.
His deathbed, he's like, this guy's bad news.
Lenin, who's an authoritarian, Marxist socialist, is like, this guy's too much.
He's too extreme.
He's too far. That's wild.
Yeah. So Lenin died in 1924. After he died, his wife, Krupskaya, tried to have the letter read aloud at the party congress, but Stalin's allies blocked it.
Wow.
It was suppressed and didn't become public until 1956. And by then, Stalin had been dead 3 years.
Okay, so his entire reign, this letter was private.
Exactly.
Crazy. Imagine if it had gotten read.
I know.
How different history could have been.
I know.
Wow.
What you could say what you will about the Marxist Party. There might have been somebody just as terrible as Stalin, but there might not have been.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody would have taken it a different direction. So after Lenin's death, Stalin played everyone against each other. He shifted alliances strategically and packed party positions with people loyal to him. Trotsky, who was Lenin's most obvious heir, was like his partner in all of this, was maneuvered out of power, exiled, and eventually had an ice axe put in his skull in Mexico in 1940.
They went and chased him down.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's something that I read about Stalin, was that he had nearly like a photographic memory for anybody who had offended him. And so that even to the point that when he became a dictator, that he remembered like, oh, this 12-year-old, when he was 12, how his classmate offended him, and he would have them go find him and kill him, or a teacher that gave him a bad grade. He'd have them go find. So anybody that upset him, he'd go to the lengths, like go find this guy in Mexico and take him out.
He's like a really perverted Count of Monte Cristo, getting revenge.
Yep, very vengeful. Many years in the making. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so all opposition was gone, and by the late 1920s, Stalin was running the Soviet Union alone.
Crazy. The whole Soviet Union.
The whole Soviet Union. So I'll toss it back over to you, and you can tell us a little bit more about him.
Okay, so this is what made him so bad, beyond what we've already read. He's noted as being one of the most brutal dictators in history.
Can we pause here for a minute? Because I thought this was insane. I had thought of Stalin as like, small beans compared to Hitler, compared to Mao or Attila. And then I started reading what he had done, and I was like, oh my God, this little man is just one of the worst people in history, obviously.
Yes.
Anyways.
No, I would say the same thing. Like, Hitler obviously is probably number one, specifically because of the targeting with the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. But Stalin was not any better by any stretch of the imagination. Wild. Okay. So he was responsible for the deaths of millions through deliberate policies of terror, famine, repression, and war. Estimated deaths under his rule are about 20 million or more.
Man.
And he didn't rule for an excessive amount of time, but in, a couple decades, a lot of people died. So some major atrocities were the Great Purge in 1936 and 1938. Stalin systematically executed or sent to labor camps anybody he perceived as a threat. Military generals, Communist Party members, intellectuals, ordinary citizens, anybody that was kind of too smart, too good at anything. And estimated ranges are from 3/4 to 1 million people were executed during this time, with millions more sent to the gulag, which was like a concentration labor camp. Mm-hmm. So he pretty much terrorized his own government into like following him.
That's so insane.
Yeah, it's a little bit like was it Saddam Hussein that we did? Yeah, that just would terrorize people like, okay, yeah, we'll tell on our friends so that you won't kill us. So
totally
people doing bad things so they wouldn't die. In the early 1930s, Stalin seized private farms and forced peasants into a collective agricultural program where they wanted people to plant, only certain things, and that it would then be all given back to the Soviet Union and then redistributed. The country of Ukraine resisted this. So he engineered a famine by confiscating all their grain, and he sealed the borders of the country so people couldn't escape. And in between 3.5 to 7 million Ukrainians starved to death.
Oh my God.
In a period of a couple years. And then he just denied that it was happening. Like, oh, I don't know what's happening in Ukraine. Weird.
Wow.
Like, completely, unaware of it, or acted unaware. Back to the gulag system. So he massively expanded something that Lenin had already started, which was a network of forced labor camps in Siberia and the Soviet Union. And about 18 million people passed through the gulag under his rule. Prisoners, 18 million.
18 million?
Yes. That's crazy.
Gosh.
Prisoners worked in brutal conditions, extreme cold, like giving like starvation rations, and impossible quotas to meet. Like you have to, clear this road or build this in a day, something that was impossible. And if you didn't, they would just kill you. So millions of people died in these labor camps. He also made a non-aggression deal with Hitler in 1939. So pretty much told Hitler like, hey, like we're good. Like us in Germany and the Soviet Union, we're on the same team. So that's what enabled World War II to start, was Hitler was like, I've got the support of the Soviet Union. So kind of his deal with Hitler allowed it to get going. But Hitler broke the pact 2 years later and invaded the USSR. But at this time, Stalin had killed off so many of his military leaders for suspicions of betrayal or whatever, that it left his army so disorganized that the Soviets suffered catastrophic early losses, with millions of soldiers killed or captured in the first months.
Oh my gosh.
Because he had just gutted his own government so much. And he also was very, I don't know if you call it racist, I guess. Yeah. He forcibly relocated entire ethnic groups. People from Czech, Crimea, certain Germans, Koreans, Jews. He accused them all, like if you were Jewish, you were disloyal. If you were Korean, you were disloyal. If you were from Czech, you were disloyal. And he would load people onto cattle cars in the middle of winter with no warning, just show up to their town, like anybody who's Czech, get on this train, and just would ship them off. And hundreds of thousands died from cold, disease, and starvation during the transportation. And then he would just resettle them, like just dump them into the middle of nowhere and be like, all right, you get to live here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and that's just the start of like all the horrible things he did in regard to like his dictatorship. But I wanted to touch a little bit on like his personal life. Like he just was a horrible person in his personal life as well. He was very abusive to those close to them and viewed them also with like control and suspicion. He married young and had what seemed to be like a happy marriage with his first wife, but she died after a year or two. So there's kind of this belief that, oh, he lost his one true love. And after that, he was horrible. His second wife, Nesdia, she died by ending her own life because he was so horrible to her.
Man.
And it was reported in the news that she died of appendicitis rather than she shot herself.
Yeah.
So just a little covering that up. He was extremely abusive and domineering and controlling towards his children. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter, all with different people. His son Yakov, especially, he was very abusive to. And Yakov tried to end his own life several times growing up, just under the pressure of who his father was. And Yakov was captured by the Nazis in 1941, and the Germans offered to exchange him if they gave, if the Soviet Union gave them one of their field marshals who had been captured. And Stalin refused, allegedly saying something like, "I will not trade a marshal for a mere lieutenant," and then claimed that he didn't have a son.
Oh my God.
And his son died in a concentration camp a couple years later from ending his own life.
What?
Yeah. So completely uncaring even about his own children, his wives. He also had numerous, like so many affairs and relationships, often leveraging his power. Many of these affairs were with adult women in his like circle. So his secretaries, the wives of like his subordinates. He was really into like ballerinas, where genuine consent is questionable because it's kind of like women were like, well, I had to sleep with him or else he was going to kill my husband.
Yeah.
So he had a couple children that way. And then while he was in exile in Serbia, one of the times, in his mid-30s, he lived with and abused a young girl who was 13. And she became pregnant twice. The first child didn't make it past birth, but the second, his son Alexander, survived.
Wow.
So, yeah, not a great person in that regard either.
Oh.
I wrote down good things he did. He helped defeat Nazi Germany.
He did. That's the one thing I was surprised to learn.
There we go. Yeah, I thought that he was on the side of the Nazis just because, in my mind, the Soviet Union and Stalin were so horrible. I just figured they were on the same side. So I was shocked, especially finding out how racist, anti-Semitic, horrible he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of all the horrible things he did.
I know that, what was it? He did help defeat the Nazis, but when Hitler betrayed him, I read that he like withdrew from the public eye, from even like the people that were close to him for like a couple days. Like he was just so taken aback that the treaty hadn't lasted.
Yeah.
That he needed like time for his mind to recuperate. But eventually he did rally. And when he rallied, he was not that great of a war commander.
Right.
He was actually pretty poor at it. And so he decided to let just the commanders he had, the few commanders he had
That
left.
he'd already gutted, the whole military.
Yeah. And he decided to let them take the reins. And it did help.
Yeah.
It basically helped win the war.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
Which is interesting back to what his childhood friends and stuff said, that he had to win. He needed to be first. And if he wasn't, he would pout and withdraw.
Oh,
so
there
it's
you
kind
go.
of like Hitler's like broke the treaty. He's like, oh, I'm not winning. I'm pouting. Now he's like, now we're going to take out the Nazis. Not because he cares about the Holocaust, but he wants to win.
He wants and revenge.
Yeah,
that's been his MO as well.
Yeah.
So, moving on to his death, Stalin died March 5th, 1953, at age 74.
Wow, it's pretty old for back then.
That's so old.
Yeah.
That's like 100 now.
Yeah.
He lived till 74. He apparently was found collapsed on the floor of his dacha. I have no idea what that is. The morning after a late dinner with his inner circle. Beria, Khrushchev, Melenkov, Bulganin. These were the people he was with the night before. None of them had checked on him for hours. And his guards who were guarding the room were too afraid to enter his room without being summoned. When they finally found his body, there was a suspicious delay in calling the doctors. Almost like they wanted him.
They're like, let's make sure this guy
is
actually
really
is
dead.
Toast. Yeah.
So some historians believe Beria, his feared head of secret police, deliberately held off getting him medical attention, but we'll never really know for certain. We do know, but by the time the doctors were there, it was far too late for him to be saved. His inner circle had spent decades terrified of him, and at the end, they might have been the reason that he died. So it's a little bit ironic.
Interesting.
It's a tiny bit ironic.
I'd also read regarding his death that he had like super high blood pressure and some kind of other, not horrible, problems, but that the doctors around him suggested different stuff. But he thought he was smarter than them. And so he consulted like a local veterinarian. And the guy was like, take iodine drops.
What?
And so he just started taking a bunch of iodine, which is something that you should have like a drop of maybe a week.
Oh my gosh.
And so there's other suspicions that maybe that helped.
He OD'd on iodine?
Yeah.
Classic mistake. You hear about one or two every century.
Right.
So what are some key takeaways to pull from this?
Yeah.
I have a couple written here, but then I'll throw it back to you and you can add whatever you want. I think you're going to think the same thing. One of the key takeaways is he had an abusive father.
Yeah.
Just like almost every other dictator we've reviewed in Villains of History. And that abusive father led him down a dark path of becoming exactly like him as he grew. He was consistently underestimated at every stage. I think this is the not necessarily a theme that we see with most dictators, but with him specifically, people they underestimated him all the time. So they didn't estimate him correctly because of whatever, his height, his intelligence level, who they thought he was versus who he actually was. But you see this pattern throughout his whole life. It's just people they thought he was great with numbers. They thought he was great with organization. And then he snuck up and stabbed them all in the back and became the ruler of the Soviet Union.
Right.
So I think that's a key takeaway here. And like Attila, which we talked about last time, Stalin's system was built around one man's presence at the center of it.
Yeah.
This is another theme that we see with a lot of dictators is that the whole thing relies on them. Once they're dead, it falls apart.
Yeah.
Their generals can't keep it together, or their sons and daughters don't want the throne, or their sons and daughters kill each other to get the throne, and then it ends up falling apart. So I think those are my three key takeaways.
Yeah.
And my one encouragement I think I could give to people is just be a good dad, be kind to your children, raise them with good morals. And I think it could potentially save them
Make a
from
difference.
being a dictator.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was once again, like the majority of the dictators had either absent or horribly abusive fathers.
Yeah.
And so what makes me sad about Stalin is that he was taken in by a priest and his family and raised in that house with a functional household with a husband and wife who loved each other and had children that were healthy. And yet he ended up going to seminary to pursue a life in ministry. And the seminary was legalistic and religious and abusive. And that as well is so sad how the church is, Jesus is the answer to our pains, our struggles. And yet man is so broken and fallen and can twist people's views of who God is. And so that was just so sad to me. Like, to see he had this amazing opportunity to be raised, to make up for or, heal him from the abuse of his father. And yet the monks and the priests were abusive to him in another way.
Yeah.
So that I think is something we can learn from is legalism and religiosity instead of like true Christianity in the Bible, as well as just letting somebody rise to power and not standing up more, even like Lenin's wife who had the letter, not that she could probably have done much more than she did, but people were just kind of afraid, and this guy gathered enough supporters around him to the point where, starved out whole countries, punished anybody who turned on him, just kind of this state of fear. So just don't be Marxist, don't be socialist, don't be communist,
Yeah, not once has that ever worked out.
No.
Not once in
not
history of
well.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, great job, babe.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple
super interesting
other interesting facts about him that just came up.
Go for it.
He was like a borderline hypochondriac. He was very afraid of germs. And so like he washed his hands constantly. And it was kind of like I'm cleaner than all of you. Like he always had to be cleanest and the purest.
Yeah.
And he was very interested in like scientific discoveries. And so he funded through, the robbing of banks and through, they took over, kind of the USSR took over everything. He funded a bunch of scientists who were really interested in like genetically modifying foods, which then led to massive crop failures, which extended the famines.
Wow.
They were trying to do some like experiments on making like blood transfusions to make like super soldiers. So he was funding this one scientist who ended up trying to do these blood transfusions and died as a result of it.
Oh, geez.
Before Stalin got around to trying it himself. And he also funded this guy who was really into another form of creating a super soldier where they were taking apes, like monkeys and gorillas, and inseminating them with male stuff. And they were trying to create like this hybrid, like ape human.
An ape man?
Yeah, so they thought that they could use that in the war as well. And so he was just really interested in like creating all these weird funding things, and just was very odd in the way he spoke. Not your typical dictator who's very commanding. It's like, no, he's like, I got to wear boots and airbrush my face and make sure my arm's not showing. And he banned people from filming him while he walked because he walked funny.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely he was not this excuses anything he did, but there was definitely some mental problems beyond like being narcissistic or something like that.
On the spectrum for sure.
Yeah. Probably maybe even from the abuse he suffered as a child, some brain damage.
Could have stunted him.
Yeah. So I just thought that was odd as well.
Yeah.
But I love how you shared about his rise to power. I hadn't researched much about that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Interesting man. Sad outcome from his life.
Yeah.
But we hope everybody here enjoyed that. Learning a little bit something new today and how we can avoid that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of weird to be like, all right.
No, moving on.
Hope you had a good time learning about this horrible person. But yeah.
That's history.
I think it's good to learn from.
Yeah.
Yeah. The humanity of who somebody was and what led to them becoming so horrible.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, lastly on this podcast, we like to recommend something to our lovely stuffies out there. So, Christina, is there anything you want to recommend?
There's something I would like to recommend that one does not do.
Okay.
And that is eat crawfish / crawdads / crayfish.
Okay.
We tried to make like a
Shrimp boil.
Shrimp boil, a southern shrimp boil with shrimp and mussels and corn and potatoes. And I was like, crawfish, that sounds fun and southern. And I got a big, like, I don't know, there's probably 50 crawfish.
That's a lot.
There's a lot of crawfish, which if you don't know what they are, they're like miniature lobsters that live in like lakes and canals. And cook it all up. And my goodness, within the crawfish, you have literally maybe half a bite of edible meat, which is also right next to the poop chute and the innards and the brain, of which I ate all of a couple of times. And the whole house smells like crawfish. And my mouth is still not over it. So I would recommend, if you want to try it, order at a restaurant, have a couple.
Yeah.
Other than that, just leave it out.
Yeah. It was not a pleasing experience.
No.
Although we could have made it wrong, we could have seasoned it wrong, we could have eaten it wrong. We don't know.
We looked up videos. We tried.
We tried our hardest to really enjoy crawfish, and it just did not happen.
No.
We ate them all.
We did.
Because we're the type of people. Yeah, we're the type of people of like, if you buy it,
I'm like, I bought a $15 bag of crawfish. We're eating all these.
We miserably ate, I don't know how many, 30 crawfish. The other stuff was really good. I really enjoyed the rest of it. But yeah, it's a good recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't had crawfish before, maybe don't order 30 of them and try eat them all.
Yeah.
It's just not a good time.
No. All right. What about you, babe? What would you recommend to our stuffies?
I would recommend just getting 8 hours of sleep.
Okay.
Super important. You need to wind down before bed. You need to make sure you have a cool place to sleep. Not a cool place as in it's really nice and fun in there. It's like the temperature's down, and set aside 8 hours of sleep for yourself. You're going to save yourself a lot of trouble when it comes to waking up, getting to work on time, when it comes to your body's circadian rhythm.
Yep.
And so it's just something I've been trying to do lately. We've been going to bed at different times, which isn't my MO. I try to keep it normal, keep it consistent, but we've at least been getting 8 hours.
That's good.
And I think as long as I've been getting 8 hours, I've felt noticeably better every single day.
That's good.
With the exception of today, some allergies or something going on.
Maybe the crawfish.
Could be the crawfish. We don't know.
They're still crawling around in there. The brains we ate.
Exactly. But so get that 8 hours, people.
Sounds good. Great recommend.
Yeah. Last thing on this podcast, we like to tell you how to contact us. You can contact us for this podcast, questions, concerns, or corrections at
stuffThatWeLikePodcast@gmail.com.
Very nice. You can connect with Christina on Instagram at
See Joyfully.
You can connect with me on Instagram at
Caleb C. Media.
That's right. I write music. I do photography and video. So if you need any of that done, hit me up through my email, which is
CalebCmedia@gmail.com.
CalebCmediaCo@gmail.com.
Oh, this is new.
Yeah.
I don't know this.
Yeah. Well,
because you have a whole company now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to make it official. So hit me up if you need any of those things done. And next time, I think we're going to read through a couple comments we actually got on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And try to answer some of those for some people who want to know about stuff or had corrections for us, which is really cool.
I love it.
So look out for that.
That's what we ask for.
Yeah. Look out for that.
Also, we're currently reading Moby Dick.
Yes.
And we'd love for you to hop in and join us. We're going to review it in a couple weeks. If you can't read the whole thing, the abridged version will do just fine.
Yes.
From my estimation so far.
That is what we're learning.
Yes.
For sure.
A lot about nothing. A lot about whales. Let me just say that. Not a lot of story. A lot of whales. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us once again. This has been Stuff That We Like / Enjoy, at least this point in time. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.